right, so you're joining us on my front porch, which is interestingly lit, and we're here to do a little discussion about the match footage that hopefully you have all seen. It was the biggest project that we've done thus far. We had an astounding 4 stages, with 5 shooters in the course of one day, and only one of the shooters' runs on the last stage was in the dark. And in the camera footage, it looks much darker than it looked in reality, but even still, props. Somebody always finishes at night, but we're not quite there yet with the efficiency. So the first stage that we went through was the munitions acquisition, which was a modernization and an update of a classic that we did, an instant classic.
An instant classic.
Only
a few months old.
Right. And it was a fairly traditional course of fire with the twist of all of your ammunition was staged in an ammo can downrange, and you had to go acquire it and then load everything up that you intended to use on the stage beforehand. The best part of that stage was running up that sand dune, grabbing the box and running down and then running back. I tried to strike a balance between moving fast. No, I didn't. I ran as fast as I could, and then I got a little winded. But that's the way you do it. And then after that, the barrels was really interesting. Shooting a rifle through while kneeling, between barrels is fun, but a pistol makes it even more fun. So what did you think, Repcom, of that initial stage?
So the shooting portion itself that you start with is pretty straightforward, other than you get the little bit of fun of running around. But what frustrated me the most is my eternal nemesis, the clay pigeon on a stick. For whatever reason, you can shoot something that small all day long until you have to shoot a clay pigeon with a pistol.
There's something cursed about clay pigeons, and pistols specifically.
Yeah. So definitely fumbled that to the point of having a reload, which you can hear me exclaim about on camera. But other than that, it was a pretty fun course, and it's something that hopefully we can, with more iterations, go back to get that pigeon.
Get the pigeon in one shot. One of the shooters that was participating, whose run was not represented, got it in one shot, which was amazing. Oh, direct hit. Good job. But we were not that lucky. Actually, everyone had a reload, I think, during it, but that's also because we weren't really fully prepared either. Forgetting what magazines are full to be put in the box was a big part of the stage. So what did you think? This was actually kind of your baby, this stage.
Right, I did design this.
We only tweaked it slightly from your original design.
So every stage really has been a cooperative design.
Yes.
Between all of us. But we did the initial setup for some of these individual stages was done by a single person, and this one was mine.
Right.
Obviously, I had trouble with I had at least one penalty. I may have had 2, actually. But the one penalty for sure I had was the silhouette target.
The rifle? The final
yes.
shot, yeah.
And then I injured myself on this stage.
Yes. To the infirmary.
Which may be why I got a second penalty. Because I had pulled a muscle and I was really feeling it by the end of that stage. I did keep going up until the very end, and we'll get to that when we get to that. But, Matt?
I really had a lot of fun with the stage. I really do enjoy the whole point of it, the munitions acquisition part of it. It's fun.
Not
just
the musicians.
Munitions.
That's a completely different stage.
Yeah,
but I really enjoyed the running up, grabbing it. Just adds that little bit of extra. Just it was fun. Be able to get everything.
You brought an exorbitant amount of magazines with you in your box.
One of my first problems was I literally loaded up every single magazine that I owned in there, including Dumb Idiot's 2 pistols.
Yeah.
That I did end up needing though, so it was worth it for the pistol magazines. But the 4 rifle magazines for 3 shots was maybe a little much.
A little
cigarettes,
excessive.
Perhaps just a little too much.
Tactical smokes.
Tactical smokes didn't work out. Didn't have anywhere to put them. But
and you were using borrowed gear too.
And yeah, borrowed gear. I was using Dunkin' Donuts' vest combo, and then everything I was using was borrowed except for the Hawaiian shirt, really. And yeah, most of my I think bad time was just wasted. Wasted on that. Wasted on when we got over to the barrels and everything. I didn't have any penalties on it, but I dropped down to the prone and I ran out of ammo because I didn't realize that the pistol only had 4 shots in it. And
Doing
that,
like a really cool 1911 prone style.
Right, that was a bold choice.
but it was bold as you proclaimed. But having to get back up so I could reload said pistol. For me, that was the easiest stage to realize, like, oh, how could I have done better? It was just everything in that stage was wasted time for me, and not being prepared and not being familiar with what I was using. So, but overall, I had a lot of fun. I mean, it's my second day out there shooting, so it was a really, really fun time getting straight into it.
Which you've shot with us a few times before, even on the clock and otherwise. But for a first comer for anything of this magnitude, the only one that shot the first stage clean, by the way.
Yeah.
Because we
And
The unnamed shooter.
The mysterious fist shooter did shoot it clean.
Yeah.
However, I think talking about your wasted time is maybe being slightly hard on yourself given the circumstances, since you had one of it's the accuracy that's important.
Yes.
We can all run and hurt ourselves in various ways.
Get 2 penalties and be then slower than you, thanks to those.
True.
Correct.
So.
Shooting clean is really important because we don't penalize mics quite as much as like a brutality match, which is 60 seconds. We do 30 seconds, so we're a little more forgiving with it, but it's still a pretty. You can do a lot of shooting in 30 seconds.
You'll see that. Yeah, so I had a lot of penalties in one of the later stages, and yeah, it
That's
definitely came back to haunt me.
I
Because
believe you shot a no-shoot multiple times.
Yeah, you're right.
just once. It only went through them once.
So yeah, that munitions acquisition I think was really good. Fantastic idea. We had, like I said, this was a further evolution of a previous stage that we had designed before we, I guess, thought to actually include the literal munitions acquisition element to it, which really, really is cool because you don't always get to use all of your kit as far as your mag pouches and everything, and you rarely have the experience of
Actually loading something
and
under pressure.
That was cool too, loading up really fast. I really enjoyed that part. Like, once again, I kind of went a little overboard, but at the same time, it was still fun. It was fun to do.
go big or go
Just
home.
gotta get that tactical cigarette pouch now.
Tactical smokes pouch. That's whoever makes that, sponsor us.
We got you.
The second stage that we ran was the withdrawal symptoms, which was the brainchild of Repcom here. We had to do a little bit of tiny bit of tweaking because it does revolve around quite a lot of up-range movement, which makes it the most interesting as far as like how you think about it and how you mitigate that question, both in the design and the execution. One of us had a pretty interesting idea. He'll probably bring that up. So I really enjoyed it. It was kind of originally designed as sort of like a home defense kind of scenario.
Yeah.
In the designing process, there was like going through the house and then going outside of the house and yada yada yada. And the first couple targets were just super fast and easy, and then you go out for fairly long pistol targets, and then you go for fairly long rifle targets as well. So it does have a nice mix of close and long. I really enjoyed it. I think I had a penalty, at least one.
Everyone had
I think
at
everyone
least
did. You
one.
Yeah, I might have had 2.
That'd be
And
odd.
there was
At least
there was that one silhouette that was up on.
I think you had a no-shoot, actually.
I might have hit a no shoot because there was not the
think
first ones, but then there was
Everyone but Josh had no-shoots.
yeah, and it was largely on not the close fast pistol segment, but when you draw back and then there's the one which we called the tricky one. It's up a hill and then behind it goes down a little bit, and it's a very strange angle and there's trees around it.
We also had a little bit of a missed setup on us. The no-shoe was actually behind the
So it makes it even trickier. I
shot.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
Right, which is
Whether that was on purpose or
yeah.
accident, I wasn't sure.
Our
So-
hostage
It
shaker
was
had
an
become.
accident.
I think what happened
the
there
hostage.
I think what happened there is we set it up correctly the first time, but it fell down in the process of actually preparing for it.
And when it was set back up,
So
it was,
whoever set it back up just put it on wrong.
yeah. So was there any specifics of the course that you thought was interesting?
Actually, yeah, both of the no shoots. I liked trying to enforce the accuracy a little bit, because then it's not just, well, I got a C to the left. I mean, like, no, you have to force yourself to go a little to the right, not hit a hostage, which means you'd see a lot of guys were like, if you were in the A, you were just right of the A, and a lot of the C's, were then kind of either in the center or far right as well.
Because I think the initial no shoots were encroaching on the A zone a little bit.
Almost, yeah.
Almost
they were right at the edge.
Yeah, so and those were the close-up ones.
Yeah, so you had to be even more, because usually you can sling a shot or two, and especially for the scoring system that we use, where if you're 2 C's making in, we've taken to just throwing rounds down range and hoping that it works.
Specifically at close range.
Specifically at close
because
range.
it adds to the fun value.
Yeah.
Rapid shooting adds to fun. There's no debate about that. And marksmanship kind of goes by the wayside when it comes to that. But as far as those close-up ones, I don't think anybody hit it. That one that was up on
Only Repcom did.
On the pistol.
The close
on the
shots
close
is the
one?
one he hit.
Oh,
Yeah. He
okay.
didn't hit the far away one.
So did you encounter any interesting foibles?
So, because of the aforementioned injury earlier in
Right.
the day, I went under as opposed to over the log,
Like a real American.
like a real American.
Like a real American.
A real man.
And other than that, obviously, if I was running, actually, rather than stumbling through it, probably would have had a better time. Could have had better shot placement, as always. Other than that, it's a fairly lengthy course with a lot of different elements going on in it.
Right.
It does kind of turn the typical, finish with the pistol on its head by starting with the pistol.
Right. Yeah, was one of the first steps of thought that we put into it was when the transition happens.
Yeah.
And we did draw it back and have a couple longer pistol shots just to save the transition for later, which we deemed better for the rule set. And it did make for like those couple marksmanship sort of pistol things. Nothing like, we're not like 100-yard bullseye pistol shooters. And then going up and crouching behind a berm is just fun too.
Right, and interestingly enough, I don't think any penalties were on the farthest pistol target.
That's right. Yeah, the tricky one that was in the middle after you move from the table was
right,
by far the most.
Feels
missed.
like a different elevation, and technically it is a different elevation,
Yeah.
but it's
hard.
technically not at the same time.
Yeah, there's something psychological about certain target placements and certain types of targets.
Right.
I was still worried about obviously the 180 field that I kind of had been talked about before that in the one before that.
Oh, he had lashings.
Lashings. Yeah, I get really close to breaking it, if not breaking it, before that, and we had talked about it pretty heavily going into it, so I was really worried about breaking it again. So instead of just turning around and running full tilt, I decided I was gonna back up into my shot, which was a little hard. But when you practice training and running in the seas of Daytona Beach,
Right.
knee-deep water,
Yeah,
makes for some interesting time. Boots, much like the ocean.
that's true. That's true. It was an exercise in dynamic design overall, and it made some pretty simple shooting fairly difficult because of all of that.
But very fun though too.
Yeah, very fun.
I say it's definitely a fun challenge. I say it's going around the table and everything was probably my favorite part about it.
Which we've discovered that nobody can look cool running around a table.
Yeah, you're gonna look like a dork.
You're gonna
You
look like
just have to accept it.
You're just gonna have to accept it. Correct. So it was good. It was a nice compliment, I think, to the munitions acquisition, because it wasn't the exact same course of fire in reverse, but it was almost what you would call like a mirror stage.
Yeah.
Definitely the uprange movement was interesting, and it'd be nice to experiment with that even more. So yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was great. It was great.
Do I look cool? with the black shirt, I feel like my arms are glowing.
Yeah.
In contrast.
You look like floating head and arms.
Yeah.
So after the withdrawal symptoms, we shot the Around the World stage, which was designed originally to highlight the full birth of our new range. And Around the World is pretty straightforward, but it's basically just running and shooting, And the interesting tidbit of it was at the first island, we call them, you had to go into some form of defilade, either kneeling or laying down. Nobody laid down, I don't think. Not this time around.
It's a weird angle.
It is a weird angle. There was a line that you couldn't cross. The muzzle of the gun could cross it, but you couldn't. So nobody laid down. The first time we had run it when we were demoing it, a few of us, we had tried laying down. But it's a weird angle.
Well, there was like foliage that was farther up on the other side, and then we also weren't far enough up that it actually finished like
Correct.
peaking.
Yeah.
So you would have been shooting in the dirt.
It would. You're right.
Yeah, there is a real threat of shooting into dirt if you're not aiming high and overcompensating. And when you're shooting at clay pigeons, you can't. There's no other thoughts except for shooting the clay pigeons.
And your brain shuts off and forgets how to shoot clay pigeons.
Yeah.
I had difficulty making hits on those clays, and I don't know how, or even if it was a thing, or if it wasn't just in my head. But my red dot was shooting low of the target, and I think I had removed it and tried to put it back on the same rail section, but I might have misjudged it or something. I don't really remember, but it wasn't in my mind at the time shooting straight. So you can see me. I put my my backup sights on, but then at that point the co-witnessing was just really screwing with my mind because I haven't really practiced shooting with that. So, but I managed to get through them, thankfully, and but it was a little rough. It was so busy that it was it almost made it more difficult. If I had just adjusted for my perception of like how off it was, I probably would have been able to shoot cleaner. But I went for it and I tried because I wanted to try to use the backup sights. I shot with them for the rest of the day. Actually, I just took the Hollow Sun off, or well, for the one stage we had for the rest of the day, I guess. But yeah, that was a little rough for me there. But besides that, the rest of the stage was pretty clean and pretty fun. Just jogging around, taking a knee here and there, and shooting some clay pigeons, and then cleaning it up at the end with the pistol.
Yeah, I narrated my whole thing. It's one of those. I was doing it to keep myself focused, especially coming off of some you saw. We had quite a few penalties. I was determined to overcome that with some narration, not realizing the camera would catch it, so you all get to hear my thoughts.
The deepest, darkest thoughts.
And I should have taken that counsel, but I did not.
Yeah, the mysterious counsel.
Yeah.
But I think you had a pretty clean run.
Yeah, I think this was a clean run for me, and it's because probably it is pretty straightforward, even more so than the munitions acquisition, because it's running and shooting, and they're clay pigeons, and with the rifle it's a little bit easier. So you have these bright orange targets, bam, 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 and move on.
Yeah, at close range with a rifle, the clays, well, except in my case, the clays just melt before you. So then you had a magazine problem.
Yes, I had a malfunction.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had two malfunctions, but one of them was the direct result of the other malfunction.
Mm-hmm.
I had, when the follower fell out, it fell out in such a way that it failed to properly get the round that I was trying to chamber up into the feed lips on an AK that is very easy to see. You can literally see a gap in where the charging handle is trying to get the round in. So you can see me kind of pull it back, let it glide forward, that not getting it all the way, banging on it, and then I think I even wholly tilt the rifle to get it to go into position and then sling the bolt back and take another shot, only to find out that the follower has fallen out of the magazine. Not totally out, but it's no longer...
It got pinched.
Yes, it's pinched down, so it's no longer feeding. It's not following. It's not doing its job. So, pull out your pistol, do everything that you can, and we have serious problems hitting clay pigeons with pistols.
Right.
So by the time that I get to the end of the course, I have 3 rounds in my gun. I don't know this because I'm not counting.
You're hoping
obviously.
you have 4.
I'm hoping I have 4.
I need Archer.
Hit 2 of them. I technically get 1 C on the 3rd one, and then obviously I get another penalty because I can't shoot the 4th one at all.
It is impossible for you to shoot it. If you had enough ammo at the end, you would have cleaned it up just fine.
I would have plugged them 3 or 4 times.
Because I don't think the time that you lost messing with the malfunction would have been that huge of a detriment.
Right. I mean, there is still time there that could have been picked up where I'm slinging the gun back, trying to get the round to feed, realizing that no round is going to feed from that magazine again.
Mm-hmm. And I think you had a totally clean run.
Yeah, I had a clean run. It was out of the courses that you guys designed, I should say. Around the World was my favorite. I had a little bit of a human error at the beginning of the run, as you'll notice.
Very human error.
Complemented by the camera failure as well.
Right, you should have used the "We'll be right back" music for that one.
But
Yeah, that would have been a good idea.
overall, yeah, I ran it pretty clean. I did have a problem, which was actually missed between the changing of the memory cards. When I took on the first set of clay pigeons in the first one, I have a scope on my AR, and definitely not very well sighted at that close of range.
Yeah.
So I had a really big problem with the first clay pigeon, but I actually didn't blow up. I didn't blow up almost any of my clay pigeons. I just shot a hole
Straight through.
almost every single one of them. I think I only blew up maybe one or two.
Mhm.
All the other ones, I just had a bullet hole through it. But it was fun. I liked, I was getting up there. I actually did use the CZ75 of Dunkin' Donuts on that
Right.
run. Not the
Mid-match, switching pistols.
Yeah, I
And
wanted
then switching back, which became
becomes
sort of
an error in the next film.
Yeah.
Yeah, using that, it was a good cleanup and everything for it. And everything like that. So, but yeah, I didn't have any penalties, which I think that was my proudest of the runs. I did good accuracy and everything wise. So, yeah, it was definitely a fun course.
We concluded this match with a modified Casarda drill, modified for our purposes and for our abilities and our potential, I guess, with the amount of range we've got.
Yeah, or space.
Our space. We still don't have quite the ambitious infinity to use as a range, so we have to make do with what we have. So, but we still made it a little different and a little interesting by having a zigzag motion to it, which kind of stretched out the tosses a little bit. But yeah, this was the last stage of the day, and we were pretty hyped, and we did pretty good. Really,
Only one problem. Got a little dark.
for you. And in hindsight, since I had a flashlight the whole time we were shooting this day, I should have gone last because it would have made it pretty cool. But you can still see my flashlight momentary going off,
Yeah.
and it almost looks like the gun is firing, for a split second. But thing of it was that besides the fact that our range is completely sandy, and our holsters had an issue with sort of riding forward on us as we're doing these motions, and a lot of grit got in our pistols.
Definitely caused some problems. Well, one of two problems I had towards the end for sure.
Right. I had to assist my my pistol slide to go into battery, but once it started running, the CZ really it chewed it up, and it managed thankfully to run, which was a little surprising because my initial attempt to clear it, it's hard to see because the camera's farther back, but it's hard to see. But I dropped the magazine and emptied the gun and everything and blew into it a little bit and tried that again, and it didn't work. So then finally, once I was done with that solution, I decided to just give it the old forward fist assist and punch the back of the gun, and that drove it into battery well enough. Some of those positions were tricky throwing the bell because there are spots that are firmer than others.
Yes.
Like in your run, there was one where it was so close, if there was a different situation with the ground, it would have definitely gone across the line.
Instead of sank halfway.
But it
just straight into the dirt. Yeah.
Right. You can't really see that. You can't tell what is going to be a deep patch of sand and what isn't. So
Right.
you just kind of take it as you go.
I couldn't see any of them.
And you couldn't see anything.
Yes.
That was very true.
So it helps to have the sun out, and it helps to not skip cardio and to not eat pizza.
But not take away though.
Like a whole pizza. We're
Yeah,
talking about a whole
Yeah, we did eat a whole
here.
pizza right
Yeah.
before this. But
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts came for the assist for me. I was able to throw that kettlebell a lot better than I would have if that with him being there. He really came in clutch play.
You mean by standing where
Standing
you're
where I
supposed
need
to
to
throw
throw
it?
it at.
Yes.
Using him as target practice for the kettlebell. was fantastic.
Target practice for the kettlebell.
Kettlebell.
Right.
To enunciate kettlebell.
Yeah, and we had the headlights on the car turned on at that point too. But that was only like part of the range was illuminated. Because really we never repainted the lines after the fact because we were just trying to get it done.
Yeah.
So it was a little tricky for you to figure out where you needed to toss it.
Yeah, the Casarda for me was actually definitely my favorite of the night, of the entire day. It was just, I love the entire part of it. It's fun to jump up, get down, keep moving, take some shots and everything like that.
Mm.
I did a lot better than I was expecting. Except for my last two problems, when I got to the pistol, one, I forgot I was using the Beretta, not the CZ in
Yes.
this one. So the safety threw me for a loop, and I definitely messed up from that. And then two, once going into the dropping down and everything like that, I definitely got a lot of sand. Just must have gotten it just all jammed up in there.
Right.
I couldn't. The gun wouldn't eject, so I was having to force it to eject every time.
Mhm.
So they ran out of ammo because of all my problems. So.
Because the ingress of dirt and sand in conditions where you're throwing yourself into the sand really can't be underestimated. So yeah, you had the extended issue of figuring the safety out, and then the gun malfunction after that. Combining those two, perhaps if the safety wasn't a concern at first, and the gun had only malfunctioned, and it was maybe a little lighter out, because holding a black gun in your hands when it was dark, like the camera makes it look darker than it actually was at the time, but it was still dark.
Alternatively, buy a Glock.
Yeah, the one
Because
gun
the Glock
that didn't
had no
have a problem.
The Glock, yeah. Much like in the Tommy Lee Jones film, a Glock will shoot underwater. It will shoot in a grain silo, or whatever.
Yeah.
And also the cheapest run of the mill holster too.
Yeah, the holster works, and that's really all you can say about it. I don't even remember what it was. It was like an Amazon Wish special kind of thing, but
An Amazon Basics reversible inside the waistband and outside the waistband holster.
Yeah,
But,
purely
I mean,
nylon.
It functions. We're both using
Tasmanian
the Tasmanian Tiger.
Moonlight Tiger.
Yeah, and it's really honestly a great holster. It's really highly modifiable. It all comes together with hook and loop, and it's highly adjustable. I think.
Yes, we've put everything from the full-size CZ and Beretta in it to a little itty-bitty Sky pistol.
Yeah.
We have functionally put in this holster
The yeet
and
cannon
made
worked.
it work.
Correct. It's really adjustable, and it's really secure. It's super stiff and secure. And,
Perfectly fine.
really good. So it's a great holster, but even it couldn't. When the problem is when it starts riding forward from your hip to your inner thigh while you're laying in the dirt when you're shooting with a rifle and not thinking about what's happening with your pistol.
Especially when wearing a leather belt.
A flimsy, floppy leather belt.
Yeah, because I will say, I have the Tacticon armament belt. I believe is the name. Don't quote me on that. But
Which you just picked up.
Tacticon.
This was your debut of it.
And it was the debut, and actually because it had that Molly Pal style, it went in through one loop. I don't think it ever rode forward. So yeah, Glocks never malfunction. I don't think I ever got it in the dirt.
It was
which
firmly
helped.
on your side the whole time.
Yeah. So
That's a good point. And like we talk about, like over oiling, the biggest problem with that is it collects that. You know,
We had just oiled them right before this as well during our pizza break.
during the pizza
Yeah.
break, yeah, and that's not a pizza oil joke either. Like
It's a regular gun oil.
yeah,
separately the two
Yes,
different.
We ordered
teaching
ourselves while
how
oiling
to
our
clean
guns.
a firearm.
right. And actually, we can talk about the RDB for a second. The RDB is with that system. It is so enclosed that you have to almost like deliberately get it dirty inside.
Yeah.
The problem being, once it's dirty inside, it's unfathomable how you're gonna undirty it.
Well, that's the thing. There's not really a great field strip solution. It is to take down the firearm
Right.
and clean it
Completely.
and reassemble it.
Yeah.
And that's just it. So, but at the same time, it wasn't made for being fielded in Afghanistan or in any kind of military capacity. It's for really what we're doing, right? For competition and for sport shooting.
Yeah.
So,
Unlike the brand new Springfield Armory Hellion.
Right. So
please sponsor us.
I'm glad we managed to squeak it in. And again,
Dumb idiot was his leg was starting to bother him. That's why he didn't really partake in it this time.
for medical reasons, we did not clear him to perform Casarda drill. Not that you
We
were
did.
begging to in the first
We
place.
did clear him
but-
to perform the basic camera duties for us.
Yeah.
yes, I did film all of those.
Correct. Yeah. So that's why that is the most consistent as far as the camera work goes. But yeah, that would have probably not worked out too great for you after the aforementioned injury.
No, I can already see it hit in a hole. I'd fall next to the hole, and then it'd be done.
We'd have to physically pick you back up.
Yes.
Unlike when the event happened, you were able to get back up, and I think we all deserve our own laurels for the day. And you, because of that mishap.
He kept up.
Continued
He went
with
hard.
it. Yeah, continued with it and stayed competitive, which is brutality. You know, this is not a brutality branded match, but someday maybe.
Right.
So this was our first real like consecutive stages sort of match, and we fumbled here and there with a few things, but we're ever improving, and we hope to do a few of these a year, and have multiple videos on them, and hopefully they will get more and more interesting, and more fun, and more and more challenging. That's the biggest thing, because the spirit of it is to show up and compete against yourself, and no matter what, as the mantra is, you still did better than everyone that didn't show up. So thank you guys for watching, and please subscribe.
Like, you passed me my beer and monster.
And then you just spit took. It's a free floating tape. You're the one that's right over the banister.
If that rug gets caught in the filming,
No,
people are getting fucking.
You don't think like the camels next to the Skittles is gonna do it?
Nah.